Good afternoon, welcome to the South Somerset Heritage Collection here in Yeovil. We have around 30,000 objects and 5,000 photographs, and we're going to be looking at some of our hidden nature items in conjunction with this year's Heritage Open Day, which runs from 11th to the 20th of September nationwide, where places that might not normally be open or offer something different for Heritage Open Day for people to come and see, or in the times that we live in at the moment, as we're doing, a digital presentation. So with our first item, many people may be familiar with Yeovil through gloving, which we'll look at in a moment, but flax and hemp was important as well, and rope industry, particularly around East and West Coker, and we have examples of flax and hemp here. And it's interesting to note, when you go into West Coker, you can see the rope around the Hamstone village marker, indicating its significance to the village. And also flax was used for sailcloth, and indeed in the First World War for parachute manufacture. So we've just mentioned our flax industry. Many people will be familiar with Yeovil through gloving, helicopters and football. And we have a selection here of the tools of the trade of the gloving industry, because Yeovil by about 1950 was stated to produce around 50% of England's gloves. And so we have some of the glove webs here that we use to cut out the shape of the glove itself. And one notable item in the collection is this embossed bird pattern, which would have been pressed down onto the glove to produce like a sparrow or a robin that it looks like. And alongside us here we have, that we had in one of our calendars, the same shape as we see here, but teamed with the Tink Robins ladies gloving football team. Tink Robins had a gloving factory near St Michael's Avenue, Alexander Road area of Yeovil, and in their spare time those ladies who stitched the gloves on their sewing machines in the factory also had a football team, and they have robins on their kit there. To our third item, and this is perhaps one of our most iconic items in the collection, mainly as it featured on the cover of Leslie Brooks' Book of Yeovil that was published in 1978, and this is what featured on the cover. This is the Angel Inn panel, and we believe from a very early 17th century, around 1603, and this hung in the kitchen in a small museum at the Angel Inn, which would have been there till about 1800, one of the key coaching inns of the borough of Yeovil, and now the location of that West Bank, more or less in the centre of Yeovil. And as we see, it's 4 carved panels depicting Adam and Eve, and this scene across the middle of the 4 panels is the early account from Genesis, where Abraham was asked to sacrifice his son Isaac, and clearly their interest, being the Angel Inn, was the angel here stopping Abraham from the sacrifice here with the fire, and with our nature element, the ram caught in the thicket here to replace Isaac as the sacrifice. But interestingly, we also have a stag, unicorn, lion and elephant. It would be interesting to know whether many people had seen an elephant at that time, but that's our hidden nature element to the Angel Inn panel from 1603. Right, so moving on to more of our painting collection that we have here, greatly stored on these racks so we can pull them out for tours and visits, would be this one. So this is Byde's Gardens in Yeovil, named after the Dampier Byde family of Yeovil, and this is where the Inner Relief Road is now. So this was a municipal park really, laid out as we see with trees, and the small bus shelter here behind us. But the significant thing for us was, with museums you never stop learning, so we had a group round, the Grass Royal School Reunion group, and we just had a signature here on the end saying Frida Taylor 1960, and we thought, oh, that's just a name and a date, but they said that was their art teacher from Grass Royal School Reunion group, from the Grass Royal School. So that was great to add that to something that was very familiar within living memory. And then down here, because we have a collecting policy of Yeovil and South Somerset, it may seem strange to compare the painting we've just seen with this one here, which in our hidden nature theme is a still life of cyclamens, but significant provenance in a way, because a mayor gave it to the museum collection because it was in the Festival of Britain in 1951, which it says here on our plaque. So an item from a well-known event comes here to be in Yeovil today. Now we've moved upstairs to our costume and ceramic collection, and I'm holding here a very fine china cup and saucer here on the shelf, and it's one of those fun items that when we were looking around for our hidden nature theme, that you have so many objects and we spend not so much time in the stores itself, that you go and have another look and you find these hidden nature items here. So we have a dragonfly handle. Probably I'd still drink from it if I did use it from the base, so decorative, and it was given to a lady in Yeovil for looking after an elderly lady in Eastbourne, according to our records. So that's an unusual sort of item, again reflecting hidden nature. And I'll put that one back very carefully here. And just down here, in the middle of two significant items really, Friendly Society annual club day serving jugs, of which we can see the decorative decoration here from a hidden nature element, and that the handles, original ones, are broken off due to the weight, so they've had to be replaced by metal handles and collars, is this very pertinent item to Yeovil. So Mayor Sidney Watts gave some land of Ram Park, more or less just off the town centre, near where the Inner Relief Road that we spoke about earlier, for the 60th anniversary of the reign of Queen Victoria, and which was opened as Sydney Gardens rather than Watts Gardens, of course. And this was a commemorative plaque that was produced when the garden was opened in 1898, and we have the thatched bandstand given by Mr. Petter and the fountain given by Mr. Farley in 1899, year after the gardens opened. And interesting with our hidden nature link, whether there were swans in Sydney Gardens, I'm not so sure, but it fits well in with the commemorative plaque. So that's Sydney Gardens. So here we reflect on three items in our costume collection which date from around a similar period to the Angel Inn panel we saw earlier. We've got here two decorative aprons, a bit different to the aprons we may wear now around the cooker or washing up, if indeed you do. And these are date from around, this one is attributed the embroidery from our hidden nature element, this is why we brought this one out, to Sarah, the first Duchess of Marlborough, so it would be somewhere between 1660 and around 1750. A very decorative apron. When ladies' dresses became more expensive and they wanted to just cover them, and aprons becoming more of a status symbol, this clearly, because of the extent of the embroidery on here, would reflect that sort of status. And this one here has a link to Yeovil. This is earlier in date. This would date to the Jacobean period we have on our record, somewhere between 1604 and 1625, and it was presented to the museum significantly by Mr. Mitchelmore, the mayor, who was known as the Peace Mayor between 1918 and 1921, which again reflects its age and some of the wear that we've got here, but the significance of aprons as a decorative item at that time. Yeah, so we may be familiar with country houses around Yeovil, like Montacute House, Barrington Court. Another one of those is Newton Somerville House, now I understand in private hands, but at this time it was the ancestral home of the Harbin family. And this coat here dates from around 1750, and when Swain Harbin inherited Newton Somerville House in around 1740, he then married Barbara Abington in around 1760, and this was his wedding coat from that time. And it just reflects his status in some of the extent of the embroidery around in our hidden nature theme. One of the stars of our collection as well. So we've seen many of the existing items in the collection. This is a new donation that came to us recently, completely at random in a way, because we always try and arrange to see the objects that we have, that they're in our collecting policy, but this one clearly is, Yeovil and South Somerset, and it's a business card, as we see, for Camel Cross Cafe, which happens to feature a camel quite nicely there, motif on the corner, and if we turn it over, helpfully, it actually shows a photograph of what the Camel Cross Cafe at West Camel was like. And we checked our local Somersetshire directory and it lists it there being in 1939. I'll also add that many of the items that you see around us that have come in within our collecting policy are documented for us and of interest to our volunteer team that help us accession, what we call accession mark, and bring into the collection a number of the items that you've seen, particularly the photographs, documents and the costume that we saw upstairs.